I just want to talk about some of the consequences of ethical and unethical behavior. Some of the ones that may, obviously a lot of them we all know from our experience and from reading newspapers, but some of them are more subtle and more intriguing. Obviously, unethical behavior sets up a vicious cycle. We all know that, you tell a small lie and then you've got to tell another one to cover it, and it's like, it gets very confusing after a while. As some wise person said, tell the truth, it's so much easier to remember. Now, here's an interesting thing that isn't so apparent until you take up ethics as a practice, and that is that being unethical clouds the mind. That is, when you act unethically, when you distort the truth or hide reality from yourself or others or lie or whatever, one of the things that happens, but is hard to recognize, is that the mind becomes agitated and unclear. And it's a little like living in a smoggy city. The interesting thing about living in somewhere like Los Angeles is you don't really notice how smoggy it is until you get up on a hill or a mountain overlooking it and then notice, oh my God, I was living in that. Similarly with ethics, as a training, as you gradually work with ethics, as you clean up your life and your mind, you notice, oh my goodness, oh, when I lie, I not only get a little tense in my body, my mind gets agitated and cloudy. And you begin to notice the psycho-spiritual costs in the moment. Okay? So you have this inbuilt feedback system. It also gets intriguing at a physical level. A lot of you I'm sure, noticed when we did that exercise of being with an unethical or unethical person, that there was a physical sensation associated with that. Here's a story from Rachel Remen, a wonderful physician who wrote the book Kitchen Table Wisdom. If you haven't read it, do yourself a favor, get it, put it by your bedside. It's a collection of short stories. You'll read a couple each night, you'll laugh, you'll cry. This is the #1 book I recommend to medical students to keep themselves sane during their training. And she tells this story. A woman with heart disease had suffered frequent chest pain. Over the years, she modified her diet, learned to meditate, and had been successful in controlling most of her pain. Yet some was resistant to all her efforts. Paying very close attention to this, she was shocked to notice that she experienced the pain when she was about to say or do something that lacked integrity, that really wasn't true to her values. These were usually small things like not telling her husband something he didn't want to hear, or stretching her values a bit to go along with others. Times when she allowed who she really was to become invisible. Even more surprising, sometimes she'd know this was happening, but sometimes the chest pain would come first. And only then, examining the circumstances that provoked it, would she realize for the first time that she'd been betraying her integrity. Interesting. So something as physical as coronary artery disease and symptoms can be at the least be exacerbated by guilt.